Welcome to Learn at Work podcast, which is sponsored by iOS Press, the publisher of Work, a journal of prevention, assessment, and rehabilitation. We're delighted to host this podcast that will bring together insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions on topics that matter most in the realm of health, rehabilitation, work, prevention, and assessment. What can you expect from our podcast? We'll have expert interviews, individuals who have published in the journal, and we'll dive into conversations with leaders who have shared their valuable experience and expertise. You'll learn about different latest work trends, technology, and best practices. I'm Karen Jacobs, the founding editor of Work, and I'm the moderator of these podcasts. Welcome to this episode of Learn at Work, the podcast for the journal Work, a journal of prevention, assessment, and rehabilitation. Well, today I am traveling virtually almost around the globe to Australia. Our guest is Jess Francis, an occupational therapist and someone I had the opportunity to meet in person at the most recent American Occupational Therapy Association in Orlando, Florida, and then again when I was in Australia in the summer here, winter there. So I thought we would start off with having Jess tell us about her career, and then we'll have some other topics to discuss. So Jess, welcome.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute pleasure meeting you several times. And thank you for inviting me to be here. As you said, I'm an occupational therapist, a registered occupational therapist in Australia. That's what we're called, similar to the US licensing. However, I grew up with technology in my DNA. So my dad was actually part of the team that brought the first PC to Australia. And so naturally, I picked up that fascination very early in my life. And then when it came time for university, I was stuck between choosing computer science or health, and I chose occupational therapy, mostly because I loved sport and health and well-being, but never really lost that technology curiosity. And throughout my career, I've constantly wondered, how do we do things better? How could technology help us? And I'm just one of the types of people that think in that way. As a new grad, I convinced my boss to let me use a tablet instead of paper notes, and I was probably, admittedly, Karen, very annoying at the time. Since then, over the years, I've worked across various private sector roles here as both a clinician in leadership roles, and I had the fortunate opportunity to build and scale a national allied health provider here in the disability sector from scratch, and scaling it to over 200 staff, which really gave me that taste of startup world and taught me what it takes to build something at scale. So I digress a little bit, but along the way, I also completed a research degree exploring whether virtual reality could help people improve their work abilities. And I guess, again, that experience really cemented the passion for technology and health coming together for me. Finding my way through my career, I then founded a digital startup and really got a very crash course in medtech and the startup world, from things like regulation, product design, funding, venture capital world, and technology adoption in healthcare, which was really valuable learning, but quite a culture shock, I suppose. And then I guess the reason we're here, the real turning point for me came about 3 years ago now, when ChatGPT was released to the public. And honestly, for the first time, I saw technology that I felt could make a meaningful impact on some of those really big issues that we were grappling with in healthcare, and the sort of things that keep me up at night, things like workforce issues, the cost pressures, and sort of rising consumer expectations. And so from there, I really deep dived into the technology. I experimented across my own practice and in my own life, and completed further learning like designing AI agents, for example. And then that's what really brought my vision together. So combining everything I love, being health, technology, innovation, startups, for the benefit of clinicians, organizations, and ultimately our consumers. And so today my role is really about supporting allied health professionals with education, consulting, and community, and helping them adopt technology in ways that reduce barriers, improve care, and really, for the ultimate goal of purpose and impact. And so, yeah, I guess a really quite non-traditional pathway for my career, but has led us to this conversation about AI.
Well, it's a fabulous career trajectory. I found it very fascinating and very cool about your dad as well. And I can see that he probably has been a role model and an inspiration to you as well.
Absolutely.
We're here to talk about AI. And why do you think we're seeing so much buzz, conversation about AI?
Yes, absolutely. I think when we think about AI, you either think of robots taking over the world, or you think about some of the good things that might come with AI. I'm certainly sitting in the positivity camp, but I think a lot of what we're seeing now around AI is about efficiencies and saving time. And don't get me wrong, it is certainly doing that. But I think what excites me about it is how it's reshaping what work looks like, definitely in healthcare, but across almost all professions. So we're seeing influence in job design, scope of practice, workload. And I think for me, being a clinician at heart, we're seeing this technology being able to improve equity and access to things like healthcare. And I guess to allude to what I mentioned before, the reality is that the workforce pressures that we're seeing aren't going away. We across many sectors, particularly in health, we're seeing staff shortages, rising costs, people leaving professions because of burnout. And, I think that's where this sort of technology can really support us. And we are already seeing or starting to see that some of this burden, I guess we could call it, is starting to reduce. So we're seeing things like the energy cost and time pressures of documentation in healthcare reduce. But I think that's really the tip of the iceberg, and the potential goes well beyond efficiency. I do want to acknowledge, though, that it is really important that we see AI as a tool, not the end in and of itself. And I guess for me, I think AI only matters if it helps us solve real problems. And that's why it excites me, because I can see it solving real problems. And to quote yourself, Karen, I think that means we need to think about things like human-centered design, co-creation of solutions, and making sure technology actually supports the people doing the work. And so I guess why AI and why now for the work journal is that I'm really excited about the possibilities. So what I see as the future is AI creating the space for people to do work at the top of their scope, do what they came to do in their professions, whether that's spending more time with their consumers or clients, or people in other fields being able to focus better on the creative, the human, and the high value parts of their jobs. And so that's why this special edition is both timely and exciting for me.
Yes, and for our listeners, I invited Jess to be the guest editor of a special issue on artificial intelligence, AI, and work. And what could be so more timely than this issue, but also to have Jess Francis as the lead in this very important special issue. And Jess, I'd love you to talk about some of the types of topics or examples of papers that you're hoping people will submit. And again, I just want to thank you so much for taking the lead on this special issue.
Oh, absolutely. It's my pleasure. So I guess for this issue, we are purposely going with quite a wide scope because we want quality of work. We're looking at things like applications of AI in practice or in the workplace, way AI has been used in job design, ergonomics, ethical adoption of AI, workforce education around AI, models of implementation, and that sort of thing. So some examples of this might be AI in rehab and workplace practice. So whether that be the use of AI tools in documentation or ergonomic assessments, or maybe automating or streamlining some of the return to work processes, the impact of AI on job design and workload. So, what's changing there? What are the outcomes for workforce well-being, I suppose? I guess thinking about ethical, equitable AI adoption, how are we ensuring fairness, transparency, access across settings and across the world, I suppose. How are we training people to use AI in their daily work? And is that safe and is that effective? And also topics ranging from things like implementation, governance, evaluation, case studies. How do we know that this adoption is working? I suppose I'd describe it.
These are very varied topics. And I think someone who's in the AI space now, and I hope listening to this episode, will think about how they can contribute because work is an international, interdisciplinary journal. So we welcome people from all over, clinicians, researchers, scholars, to share their expertise with us.
Absolutely.
Jess, this is your first time as a guest editor. And I hope I didn't twist your arm too much to have this role because I think you're the perfect expert to really lead the way. But what do you envision the experience being like as a guest editor?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the invite. And I will clarify that, as you say, in fact, Karen, I don't think any of us are really experts in this space. I think we are explorers, and maybe some of us are on a faster adoption pathway than others. But really, for this issue, I see my role as sort of shaping the conversation, I think. And that means that I would like to curate a collection of papers and work that represents different disciplines, perspective, and context, and sort of be the connector and guide between that. So we want to, of course, include things like rigorous research, but also things that translate into practice and can inform real world adoption. So a real mix there intentionally. I think for me, I'm especially interested in making sure that work keeps people at the center, whether that's clinicians, workers, consumers, or whoever our target person is. And so that AI ends up supporting human impact rather than replacing it. So I want this special issue to be a resource that helps practitioners, researchers, organizations think differently about how AI is integrated into our work and how we do it right and for purpose and for impact.
Oh, I love that. I love you leading the way in this. So, people who are listening, Jess, we're going to continue, but if someone wants to reach out and learn more about this special issue, do you have an email that you can share?
I absolutely do. It's long verbally, but it's Jess, Jess, at thetrainingclub.com.au. We can, it's in the call for papers details as well, written out.
Yeah, and again, if someone is interested or paid forward, if you know somebody, as you were talking, I was thinking, it might be interesting to have a perspective from the people we serve, what it's like to, go into a doctor's office like I did recently, and the doctor said to me, is it okay if I have an AI scribe? Um, Taking down the notes. And of course, I had to ask. And it was so interesting because the doctor here in Boston said their hospital adopted one tool, which is a tool that is from Australia. It was Heidi, which
Yes.
I thought was really interesting. And I think I would like to encourage that consumers talk about the experience of AI in their interactions with healthcare providers and beyond.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I think, without lived experience, we are missing an entire chunk of the value of the research. I mean, if we're talking about outcomes and impact, well, that really is best measured by people with lived experience and consumers. So I completely agree.
Yes. So again, this is a call for action for this special issue. We'd like to have the papers submitted by February 1st, 2026. So please reach out to Jess. So, Jess, I love to ask people to share their non work activities that they like to do. So, what would that be for you?
Thank you for that, Karen. I love sport. As a young person, I played quite high level sport. Now I don't. I just play social sport. The consequence of that as a aging adult means that I am often injured, which is very not professional, but quite funny sometimes. But just come off the back, as you know, Karen, of 3 weeks of a black eye from a soccer injury. But yes, sport is one of the things I love. I've got two large dogs, so they're German short haired pointers. They're 35 kilos. What's that in pounds? 70 pounds, maybe? Um,
Yes.
approximately, and they like to sit on your lap. At the moment, I'm fascinated by opals, which is an Australian gemstone that's quite difficult and rare to find. I'm just about to go on an opal cutting and polishing course to learn
Ooh,
how to shape these rocks into something beautiful. So I don't know if I'll be any good at it, but I'm really interested to find out.
oh, that sounds wonderful. I wish I was there with you. And this is a class that you're taking?
Yes, yes. It's in Outback, I guess you could call it, New South Wales, which is my state. So it's a couple hours drive away. But yes, I'm going to take some ugly rocks and turn them into pretty rocks, I think.
That sounds like so much fun. I wish I was there, and I'm sure that our listeners will be fascinated. So we may have to have a picture of what you
Oh,
create with this, with the promotion of this podcast or follow up.
as long as I don't destroy the stones, I think I'll be happy to do that.
Oh, that sounds great. So, Jess, I want to thank you for taking the lead on this special issue on AI and work. And we're really proud to have the opportunity to have a special issue like this. You know, work has been around for a very long time, 1990, and we really try to have innovative topics. And I think AI and work is one of them. So, thank you so much.
And thank you, Karen, for the invite and for the support and for having me. I'm really excited to see how this special edition turns out.
Yeah, thank you again. And our listeners, thank you. I hope you learn more about our journal. Please go online and Google Work, a journal of prevention, assessment, and rehabilitation. And you'll see our podcast episodes there as well. So thank you, everyone.